Good morning. We are going to do another garden update for this week. Today is May 14th, and just want to show you guys what is kind of going on in the garden. Not a lot is happening with our blueberry bush this week. We've got more growth, and actually in one of the recent storms, our stake was damaged, so we had to shorten it, and we'll kind of problem solve from there later. But then we had to re-trellis all of our tomatoes, but our tomatoes are doing well, it looks like, and they've got flowers on them. A lot of them have different flowers here, if you can see that, and have just been kind of keeping an eye out for different bugs and pests. And I've been using Google to take photos and then use the Google Lens to try to identify what kind of bugs we have here in the garden. You'll see some more flowers over here. I've been coming out and trying to pick any suckers. So the suckers are like this one here, starting to develop. And so we'll go ahead and pick that off. And then that way it's not creating a branch right there. So we'll do the lateral ones there. Let's see, I think we actually have another. This one is bigger. And so we'll go ahead and take that off there. But tomatoes are doing good. Hopefully we'll start seeing some fruit development, and we'll have our pollinators come and pollinate our tomatoes. And then we've got more tomatoes over here in this other bed. We've got our zucchini, which is, we're seeing some growth. And some sad news. Last week, actually the day after I had filmed our first video, I had come out and a couple of our bunnies had passed away. And so something had gotten into the garden and disturbed them, and so there will be no more bunny updates, unfortunately. If I see any in our yard, I may mention those, because we do have them, like older bunnies frequently visit our backyard, but unfortunately no more bunny updates. Here we've got our squash plant. This was pollinated, and I'll go ahead and put a video here at the end of this video of how I hand pollinated this one, just in case it wasn't going to be pollinated by our pollinator friends. But we've got some open flowers here and here, and like I was telling you, if these don't get pollinated, they'll just fall off. It looks like this one's kind of pinched in, so that one eventually will just fall off, because that flower doesn't have any room to open, so it's very unlikely that it will get pollinated. But I don't know if you can see this here. I've got a little, is that a spider web? Yeah, that guy looks like he's caught in the spider web. So our spiders will hopefully take care of some of our pests. And I also saw in the garden some parasitic wasps, which normally I'm not a big fan of wasps or that kind of thing. But these are actually really good friends to our garden to help keep the pests that will disturb your plants out. I actually came in here over the weekend and had to cut out some spots where a squash vine borer had caused some damage to this plant, and so you want to try to best you can cut that out. I did find the little larva and was able to kill it, so hopefully this plant will not be affected. And then what they said just in a quick Google search, is to try to mound your dirt up around the affected areas, and then hopefully that way the plant would just rehab better that way. So we've got our zucchini here, our squash, and then when I planted the new squash, it's germinated here. This is evidence of good seed, which I think before I had planted maybe some not so good seed, and that's okay. Let's see, Rennie has definitely been here. You can tell because she'll come and pull the marigold flowers out. Oh, and we've got some mushrooms down here. I didn't even notice those, but that's a good sign of healthy soil, which is good. We've got our onions and our carrots are doing well. Some of this foliage is starting to kind of droop over, which is a good sign that those are probably almost done. We've got a lot of foliage on our carrot plants, but if you can kind of see down there, it's not really that big yet. So this still has plenty of room and time to grow. And I'll have to check the harvest dates on all of that. But I think I wrote on my calendar inside that towards the end of this month, we'll be wanting to check to see if the onions are ready to harvest because of the suggested maturity dates based on when we planted. And then also just looking for other signs like that foliage kind of flopping over and dying back. Those are also good signs that that's about time to harvest. And then we've got our jalapeno plant here. I went ahead and I topped this within the last week, and hopefully that will create more lateral branches and a bushier plant, which will hopefully produce more jalapenos, which would be good because last year, because those jalapenos were so spicy, which I would do this with milder jalapenos also, but they were so spicy, I looked up ways to use them, and one of the ways I did that was making a blueberry jalapeno jam, which turned out really well. And one thing is that the acidity of the blueberries actually helps to cut some of that heat from the jalapenos. So it was a much milder treat to be able to enjoy with some cream cheese and crackers, which actually before I came out here, I had purchased some jalapeno jam from a lady at kind of a farmer's market, and so I enjoyed a snack of crackers and cream cheese and some of that jam that she had canned. And then over here we've got our watermelons growing. Now as these get bigger, and even with the squash and the jalapeno, I'll come out here and I'll thin these to where there's one plant per grouping, because a lot of these are too close for them to thrive. That it would just not be enough nutrients for each individual plant, and then you would end up with probably not as good fruit because it didn't get the proper nutrients from the soil. And then over here we've got our cantaloupe growing, and we'll do the same here. I think I planted like 2 or 3 per hole that I put down, so there's 3 plants there, and that'll eventually be thinned down to just one cantaloupe plant, and hopefully those will thrive and do well this summer. And I'm sure my kids will be really happy because they love fruit. And then over here in this part of the garden, our potatoes are still doing really well. And then our okra seems to have grown quite a bit. This one actually probably the most substantially is showing growth here. And then we've got a couple other okra plants down that way. And then some of our berry plants, which that berry plant over there in the middle, this is a blackberry plant. This, whenever I bought it, these canes, I don't know how old they were, but basically this year I think we might not get any fruit off of these, and that's okay. We'll let these develop the new canes, and so the second year canes are where the fruit will actually come from. not the first year. So this will be the first year for this new growth, so no fruit will develop there. Our strawberry plants, I don't know how well those are doing. I may not have done a great job with those, and that's okay. Like I said in the past, it's all learning opportunity. I think they probably just didn't have enough room to grow and all of that. And then we've got all of our flowers over here that are still blooming. We've got our knockout roses and our bachelor button or cornflowers. And then we've got some coreopsis and some Indian blanket flowers kind of peeking through over there. And I'll probably want to come through in a little while and cut back some of this old flowers so that it can produce new flowers and focus on some of the height, because as this gets taller, it'll kind of begin to flop over. As you can kind of already see, some of this is a little bit weighty and it's putting strain on the plant, and the plant's like, okay, let's just go down for gravity reasons. But then we've also got our blue bonnets, which none of these have bloomed yet this year. Typically the wildflowers, which I think I did get these planted a bit later, typically bloom sometime between like March and May. So hopefully we'll get some blue bonnets blooming out here. But these plants have also taken a hit. Like you can tell here, something's been kind of chewing and gnawing on those things. So hopefully they'll recover and we'll get to see some blue bonnets bloom this year, but we'll see. And then I think these are cosmos, which these can get kind of tall too. Okay, now that I've gotten that those petals pulled off there, you can see the pollen on that. We're going to go ahead and take that and just put this pollen right and around that center of that flower, and we'll just get all the pollen in there. And then once that is pollinated, it'll be good to go, and that will continue to fruit, and hopefully we'll be able to harvest some squash this season from this plant. Hope you enjoyed that. Okay, good morning. I am gonna go ahead and show y'all real quick our female flower that we were waiting to open to pollinate, so you know it's the female because it's got the beginnings of this fruit down here, and it won't fruit any more than this if it's not pollinated. It will just die off. So I've gone ahead and I've grabbed off one of our male flowers here, and you know that it's a male flower because it doesn't have that same bulbing. It's let me see if I can find another one that I didn't already pinch off. But you see how this one here, now this one is dying back, but it's just a long stem here. There's no bulbing there, so that's how you know in part. And then also the center of our female flower looks different than the center of our male flower. So if you couldn't tell from those other features like the bulbing of the fruit and the long stem, that's another way to tell the difference there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel back the petals here that way I can more easily take that pollen. I'm trying to do this one-handed. Give me 1 second. Okay, now that I've gotten that those petals pulled off there, you can see the pollen on that. We're going to go ahead and take that and just put this pollen right and around that center of that flower, and we'll just get all the pollen in there. And then once that is pollinated, it'll be good to go, and that will continue to fruit, and hopefully we'll be able to harvest some squash this season from this plant. Hope you enjoyed that.